Hi, my name is Arnold Stock, and I'm founder of 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This is episode number 2 of 10 Steps to End Homelessness in America. And what was true when I started in the late 1970s is true in 2022. We have an intense homeless problem in our country, and that's the bad news. The good news is it's solvable, and it's solvable fairly simply. And the only way to solve this is in steps. The thinking years ago and still today is if you throw enough money at a problem, it's going to go away, and that's just not true. So the one thing I want to focus on, I always start off with, is the funding, because if you don't have the money, the rest of it is just a lot of talk and rhetoric and false promises. So today we're going to talk briefly about focus on funding. In order to get a project or a development or a village going, you need to identify, obviously, the site. Hopefully there will be a master plan in the area you're working in, state-specific goals, work with a team that's experienced with funding, legal, accounting, and other issues that are going to come up, and find a municipality that is developer-friendly, both to nonprofits and for-profits. If you're in a municipality that's not development friendly, that's probably not the place you want to go. So there's two types of funding that I have found over the years. One is the private sector, and the other is the public sector. The private sector being the federal, state, and local governments. Funding that comes through congressional initiatives, through White House programs, through governmental agencies that identify a funding source and fuels it that way. The problem with that is that contributes to our deficit. If it's structured just as a straight initiative where people are paying taxes to fund housing. The private sector, however, on the other hand, is conventional loans, tax credits, new market tax credits, and all sorts of other vehicles that was created with local and federal agencies to develop housing together in true partnerships. We've been able to do that in our developments and everything that we've done. I'll give you an example. One of our developments is located in downtown Las Vegas. We acquired an old Travelodge motel, and I like things very simple, so I'm going to break it down really, really simple. We did a master lease on this project. We got the owner to agree that we paid them a certain amount every month, and that payment was the rent which covered the owner's expenses. It bought us enough time to get a private loan and some public participation. It's called 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝘀 number 4. It's located again in downtown Las Vegas. It's structured very simply with a loan from CDFI, which is a community quasi-governmental lender. That's the first. And the second mortgage was funded through the redevelopment agency and the city of Las Vegas in partnership. That's called the GAP. So in future episodes, I'm going to take a specific example and get into the funding, how it was funded exactly. But now you can start to get the idea that all projects should initiate from your nonprofit's goals and objectives. So the most important thing to do is to acquire the site, get the site under contract, and then piece by piece, put the financial pieces together. This is not an easy process. And once again, it requires a local government and a federal government that's in cooperation and supports it. If you don't have political support, don't bother putting the project together at all. That's a fundamental basis for building a development, and in our case, a village. So what we like to do is get both sides of the aisle together, the local municipalities, and we have several jurisdictions where there's Democrats, Republicans, independents, all sorts of people from all sorts of different places that we create a true partnership with. collaborations, and a bank like CDFI, which is an amazing organization for nonprofits, are all over the country, and they will help you and hold your hand essentially through the whole process. So finding the funding is most important, number one most important. And the essence of this whole thing is your will and your desire to make it happen. A lot of it is based on the faith and understanding that you must have as a nonprofit or for-profit organization to get a project built. And we never ever give up unless something happens catastrophic, of course, during the process. You never give up. In our world, a no really means a maybe. And so we go about it in a particular way. And so the summation of this is that take public money, take private money, take charitable foundations, involve corporations, involve unions, involve private businesses, and bring them together for the common good. In this case, the common good was to redo 58 apartments in a project that was a slum dwelling. It was a disaster. We completely rebuilt the whole thing, and opened it as transitional housing for veterans and for small families. This can be done. We do it. We have done it for a long time. If you're interested, contact us at 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀𝘀 Las Vegas or 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 and put your questions down, and they'll be forwarded to us, and you will get an answer back. Once again, this is the conclusion of episode number 2. These are sort of quick snapshots of how to put housing together, how to solve the homeless problem. In future episodes, we're going to be talking about services, wraparound services, public-private participation, how to work with corporations, how to work with philanthropists, and how to put these things together so that you can realize your success by the internal drive, if you will, that your organization must have. If you're not determined and you're going to give up easily, do yourself a big favor and don't do it at all. If you have that determination and that drive, never give up. And that concludes this episode of 10 Steps to Ending Homelessness. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank our board members, Shannon Kelly and Jacob Stock, for everything that you do and everything we do together. And just remember one thing, keep the faith and never ever give up. Thank you so much, and we'll see you at episode 3 coming up soon. Every citizen in this great country of ours owes a debt of gratitude to our United States veterans, those men and women that have put themselves in harm's way since the founding of our country to today. Active duty and veterans that serve to protect us and enjoy the freedoms that we all have. I co-developed the crisis intervention concept in the 1980s. Because there was not a one-stop shop for social services and needs that people have to prevent the slide to homelessness. When it comes to our veterans, that is a gaping hole in the system now across the country. And I did a proposal to Mr. Wynn to please help us do the seed work in terms of some funds to build the building. And what's resulted is Penta Building Group is I believe the lead contractor, and 100 other companies all signed up through a series of meetings and planning meetings that we had to take this to a level where we would build this before Veterans Day. That was the goal. And once it got into Wynn Design and Development, then it really started to flow, this building.
We started meeting on the design in March, submitted for permit in August. It was 29 days from the time we were issued the permit to the time we got the TCO at project completion. At the beginning of that 29-day period, we had started doing off-site fabrication of panels. That was done in Raymond's yard. And then the panels were transported over to Palace Station where Penta had a yard.
From that point, we sat down and started looking at the construction and what we could do to prefabricate systems and cut out any unnecessary time that we would typically have in a schedule so we could build it in 7 days. We cleared the trees, cleared the site, took out the old asphalt. We did that in a week's time. And then we poured the slab on a Saturday. We had volunteer labor from the laborers and carpenters and finishers. It was a pretty large turnout. So once the slab was placed, Wednesday at 1 a.m. on November 1st, we had the first truck roll in with the wall panels. We set the first panel at 1:39 a.m. From that point, we worked a 10-hour shift erecting half of the building. The second shift crew came in and placed all of the trusses. That following morning, that wall crew came back at 1 a.m., erected the other half of the building. Truss crew came back in at 11 a.m. and finished placing the rest of the trusses. Throughout this process, we had SME come in and place metal decking, and then all of the MEP trades and framing and drywall trades started and basically built out the interior of the building to the point that 39 hours after we erected the first panel, we were hanging drywall in the first section of the building.
It was done with almost 100% donated materials and volunteer labor. And to do something that is got those types of constraints and then manage over 115 companies to put together a package that's worth well over $1 million, execute it and execute it well, it's really phenomenal.
I just want to say thank you, a very heartfelt thanks to those men and women that have no voice, our veterans that need help. And anybody who's watching this that was part of this building project knows how emotionally deep it is. And I just want to thank them.